Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any important updates, especially when it comes to your money and what the IRS is doing. Today, we have some really big news that a lot of Americans have been waiting for, and I want to make sure you hear every single detail because this could directly affect your bank account. The IRS has officially confirmed that a new round of stimulus payments is going to start going out on March 5th, and millions of people across the country could be getting money deposited into their accounts or receiving checks in the mail very soon. Now, I know there has been a lot of confusion out there, a lot of rumors floating around on social media, and a lot of people are not sure what is real and what is not. That is exactly why I am making this video today, to break everything down for you in the simplest way possible so you know exactly what is happening, who qualifies, how much money we are talking about, and what you need to do to make sure you do not miss out on this payment. So let us start from the very beginning. The IRS has been working behind the scenes for a while now to identify taxpayers who were eligible for certain credits and payments, but never actually received them. This happens more often than you might think. A lot of people file their taxes every year and they do not even realize that they left money on the table. Maybe they did not claim a certain credit. Maybe they made a mistake on their return. Or maybe they just did not know they were eligible for something. Whatever the reason, the IRS has gone back through their records and found that there are millions of Americans who should have received money but never did. And now the agency is taking steps to correct that and get that money into the hands of the people who deserve it. Now, when we talk about the payments that are starting on March 5th, we are primarily talking about the recovery rebate credit. If you have never heard of this before, do not worry because a lot of people have not. The recovery rebate credit is basically a way for you to claim stimulus money that you were supposed to get but never received. You might remember that over the past few years, the government sent out several rounds of stimulus checks to help Americans deal with the financial impact of everything that was going on. The first round was for up to $1,200 per person. The second round was for up to $600 per person, and the third round was for up to $1,400 per person. Now, most people got those payments automatically, either through direct deposit or through a check in the mail. But there were a lot of people who fell through the cracks. Maybe they moved and their check went to an old address. Maybe they did not have direct deposit set up with the IRS. Maybe they were not required to file a tax return, and so the IRS did not have their information on file. Whatever the case, there are still people out there who never got the stimulus money they were owed. That is where the recovery rebate credit comes in. When you file your tax return, there is a section where you can claim this credit if you did not receive your full stimulus payment. The problem is that a lot of people either did not know about this credit or they accidentally left that section blank on their tax return. And when you leave it blank or put 0, the IRS assumes you already got your payment and you are not owed anything else. So the IRS went back and looked at all the returns that were filed and compared them against their records of who actually received stimulus payments. What they found was that a significant number of people filed returns showing that they received their stimulus money, when in fact the IRS records show that those people never got the payments. In other words, these people were eligible. They should have gotten the money, but they either did not claim the credit on their return or they entered incorrect information. So now the IRS is doing something really great here. Instead of making all these people go back and file amended returns, which can be a long and complicated process, the IRS is just going to automatically send the money to the people who are owed it. That is right. You do not have to do anything special in most cases. If the IRS has determined that you were eligible for a stimulus payment that you never received and you filed a tax return but did not claim the recovery rebate credit, the IRS is going to calculate the amount you are owed and send it to you automatically. The payments are going to start going out on March 5th, and the IRS expects that most people will receive their money by mid to late April. So, if you are someone who has been wondering whether you missed out on stimulus money, this could be very good news for you. Now, let us talk about who exactly is eligible for these payments because I know that is what everyone wants to know. First and foremost, you need to have filed a tax return. The IRS can only send you money if they have your information on file, and the way they get your information is through your tax return. If you did not file a tax return for the years in question, then the IRS may not know that you are owed money. Now, there is still time to fix that, and I will talk about that in a little bit. But for the automatic payments that are going out starting March 5th, those are going to people who did file a return but did not properly claim the recovery rebate credit. In terms of income limits, the eligibility for these payments follows the same rules as the original stimulus checks. For the third round of stimulus payments, which was for up to $1,400 per person, you needed to have an adjusted gross income of $75,000 or less if you are a single filer, or $150,000 or less if you are married filing jointly. If your income was above those thresholds, your payment amount would start to phase out, meaning you would get a smaller amount. And if your income was above $80,000 as a single filer or $160,000 as a married couple filing jointly, you would not be eligible for any payment at all. These are the same income limits that were used when the original stimulus checks went out. So, nothing has changed there. Now, here is something really important that I want to make sure everyone understands. The amount of money you could receive depends on your individual situation. For some people, it could be up to $1,400. For others, it could be less than that. And if you have dependent, you could actually receive even more because the stimulus payments also included $1,400 for each qualifying dependent. So, if you are a married couple with 2 kids and you never received your third stimulus payment, you could potentially be looking at $5,600. That is a significant amount of money that could really help a lot of families right now. Let me also talk about what happens if you did not file a tax return at all. If you are someone who was not required to file a return because your income was too low, or if you just did not get around to filing, you are not out of luck. You can still claim your stimulus money, but you are going to need to take action. The IRS has said that you have until April 15th, 2025 to file a return for the 2021 tax year if you want to claim the recovery rebate credit for the third stimulus payment. That deadline is coming up. So, if you think you might be owed money, you do not want to wait too long. You can file a return even if you had little or no income. There are free filing options available through the IRS website, and you can also get help from organizations like Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, which offers free tax preparation services to people who qualify. Now I want to address something that I know a lot of people are going to ask about, and that is whether this money is taxable. The good news is that stimulus payments are not considered taxable income. That means you do not have to pay taxes on the money you receive. It will not increase your tax bill, and it will not affect any refund you are expecting to get. The stimulus payments are essentially a tax credit, which means it is money the government is giving you, and you get to keep all of it. So do not worry about Uncle Sam coming back and asking for a piece of it later on. Another question I get a lot is about how the payments are going to be delivered. The IRS has said that the payments will be sent out either through direct deposit or through a paper check mailed to your address on file. If the IRS has your bank account information from a recent tax return, they will send the payment directly to your bank account. This is the fastest way to get your money, and most people who receive direct deposit should see the payment in their account within a few days of the March 5th start date. If the IRS does not have your bank account information, they will mail a paper check to the address they have on file for you. Paper checks take a little longer, usually a few weeks. So, if you are expecting a mailed check, just be patient and keep an eye on your mailbox. This brings up another important point. If you have moved since you last filed your tax return, you need to make sure the IRS has your current address. If they send a check to an old address, it could get lost or returned, and then you would have to go through extra steps to get your money. You can update your address with the IRS by filing Form 8822, which is a change of address form. You can also update your address when you file your next tax return. Either way, make sure the IRS knows where to find you so your payment does not get lost. Now, let me talk about something that has been causing a lot of confusion, and that is the difference between these automatic payments and the regular tax refund process. Some people are mixing up the stimulus payment with their regular tax refund, and I want to make sure everyone understands that these are two separate things. Your regular tax refund is the money you get back when you overpaid your taxes throughout the year. The stimulus payment, or the recovery rebate credit, is a completely separate payment that is based on the stimulus legislation that was passed by Congress. So even if you already received a tax refund this year, you could still be eligible for the stimulus payment on top of that. They are not connected, and one does not affect the other. I also want to talk about some of the scams that tend to pop up whenever the IRS announces new payments. Unfortunately, there are people out there who try to take advantage of situations like this to steal your money or your personal information. You might get phone calls, text messages, or emails from people claiming to be from the IRS and asking for your bank account information, your social security number, or other personal details. Let me be very clear about this. The IRS will never call you, text you, or email you to ask for personal information. The IRS communicates through official letters sent through the mail. If someone contacts you claiming to be from the IRS and asks for your personal information, it is a scam. Do not give them anything. Hang up the phone, delete the message, and report it to the IRS. You can report scams to the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration or to the IRS directly through their website. Let me also go over some common reasons why people might not have received their original stimulus payments. One of the most common reasons is that they were claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. If you were claimed as a dependent, you were not eligible for your own stimulus payment, even if you were an adult. This affected a lot of college students and young adults who were still being claimed by their parents. However, if your situation has changed and you are no longer a dependent, you may be able to claim the recovery rebate credit on your own return. Another common reason is that people had errors on their tax returns that prevented the IRS from processing their stimulus payments. Things like incorrect social security numbers, wrong filing statuses, or math errors could all cause problems. If any of these issues affected you, the IRS may have now corrected the problem, and you could be in line to receive your payment. There is also the situation with people who had a change in income. The stimulus payments were based on your most recent tax return at the time the payments were sent out. So, if your income was too high based on your most recent return, you might not have received a payment. But if your income dropped in a later year, you might actually be eligible to claim the credit on that later year's return. For example, if you made too much money in 2019 and did not get the first stimulus payment, but then your income dropped in 2020, you could claim the first stimulus payment as a recovery rebate credit on your 2020 return. The same concept applies to the other rounds of stimulus payments. So, if you think this might apply to you, it is worth looking into. Now, let us talk about what you should do right now to make sure you are in the best position to receive your payment. The first thing you should do is check your IRS account online. The IRS has an online portal where you can view your account information, see any payments that have been sent to you, and check on the status of any credits or refunds. You can access this through the IRS website at irs.gov. If you do not already have an account, you will need to create one, which involves verifying your identity. It takes a few minutes to set up, but it is worth it because you will be able to see exactly what the IRS has on file for you. The second thing you should do is review your past tax returns. Look at the returns you filed for 2020 and 2021 and check whether you claimed the recovery rebate credit. If you use tax software to file your return, you should be able to go back and look at your filed return through that software. If you used a tax preparer, they should have a copy of your return on file. Look at the line for the recovery rebate credit and see if you claimed it or if you left it blank. If you left it blank or entered zero and you know you did not receive your full stimulus payment, then you are likely one of the people who will be receiving an automatic payment from the IRS. The third thing you should do is make sure your information with the IRS is up to date. That means your address, your bank account information, and your filing status. If any of this has changed since you last filed the return, you want to get it updated as soon as possible so that there are no delays or problems with your payment. I also want to mention that if you are someone who normally does not file a tax return because your income is below the filing threshold, you should still consider filing a return this year. Even if you do not owe any taxes, and even if you are not required to file, filing a return is the only way to claim certain credits and payments that you might be eligible for. Besides the recovery rebate credit, there are other credits like the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit that could put money in your pocket. A lot of people leave hundreds or even thousands of dollars on the table every year simply because they do not file a return. So even if it seems like a hassle, it is worth doing because the potential payoff can be significant. Let me also address the timeline for these payments one more time because I want to make sure everyone is clear on this. The IRS has said that payments will begin going out on March 5th. However, that does not mean everyone will get their payment on March 5th. The IRS processes payments in batches, so it may take several weeks for all the payments to go out. If you are receiving your payment through direct deposit, you will likely get it sooner than someone who is getting a paper check. The IRS has estimated that most payments will be delivered by mid to late April. So, If March 5th comes and goes and you have not received anything, do not panic. Give it some time. And if you still have not received anything by late April, then you can contact the IRS to check on the status of your payment. Something else I want to bring up is the importance of keeping any letters or notices you receive from the IRS. When the IRS sends you a stimulus payment, they will also send you a letter confirming the payment amount. This letter is important because you may need it for your records, especially when you file your next tax return. Keep that letter in a safe place along with your other tax documents. If there is ever a question about whether you received the payment or how much you received, that letter will be your proof. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, what if I already claimed the recovery rebate credit and I got the money I was owed? In that case, you do not need to do anything and you should not expect an additional payment. The automatic payments that are going out starting March 5th are specifically for people who did not claim the credit when they should have. If you already claimed it and received it, you are all set. This is not a new round of stimulus checks for everyone. This is the IRS catching up and making sure that people who were owed money actually receive it. I also want to touch on something that is affecting a lot of people right now, and that is the current state of the economy. A lot of families are struggling with high prices on everyday items like groceries, gas, and housing. Every dollar counts right now. And for a lot of people, receiving a stimulus payment of $1,400 or more could make a real difference. It could help pay down debt, cover bills, or just give families a little bit of breathing room. So, if you think you might be eligible, I really encourage you to look into it and make sure you are not leaving money on the table. For those of you who are unsure about whether you qualify, let me give you a quick summary of the key eligibility requirements one more time. You need to have a valid Social Security number. You need to meet the income requirements, which means your adjusted gross income needs to be under the thresholds I mentioned earlier. You cannot be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return, and you need to have filed a tax return or be willing to file one to claim the credit. If you meet all of those requirements and you did not receive your full stimulus payment, then you are likely eligible for money from the IRS. I also want to remind everyone that the IRS has free resources available to help you with your taxes and with claiming any credits you might be eligible for. The IRS Free File program allows people with incomes below a certain threshold to file their federal tax return for free using brand name tax software. The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program provides free tax preparation to people who generally make $75,000 or less, people with disabilities, and people who speak limited English. And the Tax Counseling for the Elderly program offers free tax help to people who are 60 years of age or older. All of these programs can help you file your return and claim any credits you are owed, including the recovery rebate credit. Before I wrap up, I want to emphasize one more time how important it is to be aware of scams. Whenever the IRS announces payments like this, scammers come out of the woodwork trying to trick people into giving up their personal information. Remember, the IRS will not call you out of the blue. They will not send you a text message asking you to click a link. They will not send you an email asking for your Social Security number or bank account details. If you receive any communication like that, it is not from the IRS and you should not respond to it. Protect yourself and your information and only use official IRS channels to check on your payment status or to file your return. So, to wrap everything up, here's what you need to know. The IRS is sending out stimulus payments starting March 5th to people who were eligible for the recovery rebate credit but did not claim it on their tax returns. The payments will be sent automatically. So, in most cases, you do not need to do anything. The payments will be delivered through direct deposit or by paper check, depending on what information the IRS has on file for you. If you did not file a tax return, you still have time to file and claim the credit, but you need to act before the deadline. And most importantly, stay alert for scams and protect your personal information. I really hope this video was helpful and that it cleared up any confusion you might have had about these payments. If you found this information useful, please give this video a big thumbs up and share it with your friends and family so they can be informed too. A lot of people might be owed money and not even know it. So spreading the word is really important. And if you have any questions at all, drop them in the comment section below and I will do my best to answer them. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you have not already, so you stay up to date on all the latest news about IRS payments, tax refunds, and anything else that affects your wallet. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care everyone, and stay blessed.